This stitch is square stitch, and I've already attached my stopper bead, and I've got a few beads for my sample here, just a few to show you, and I'm going to work this way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a bead, and I'm going to go back through this bead here, back in the opposite direction, and that will place my new bead to the side. You can see it sitting there to the side. All right, now what I'm going to do to keep it in place is then go back up through that bead, and that will firm it all up in place. So I'll just pull on that base thread and then pull it up, and you can see now it's in place beside one another. So the next thing to do is I'm going to add in my next bead, and that's going to sit above it. So again, just like with the ladder stitch, don't worry, we'll firm it all up at the end. So now I'm going to go, here's my second bead, I'm going to go down through that second bead, and then I'll pull up my thread. And now with my new bead that I've added, I'm going to go across here and up through this bead here. And that will, just like we've shown you before, the thread will bury inside the bead there. And see, now I've got another bead sitting side by side. Now see how they're not quite sitting right? Don't worry about that, we'll fix that all up at the end. See, sitting side by side. So another one. So it's quite an easy little stitch. It's called square stitch because I guess you're just making little squares. You're going up and down and around. So down through there, pop my next bead in place, and then go up through it again. And the thread buries in. There we go. So you can actually see that they're sitting side by side nicely. Down through the next one, and then back up through. This is a very strong stitch. It's a great one to use, you know, as a beginner, because although I always found it a little time consuming because you're going around and around, so I'm a big fan of peyote stitch because it seems to be a little quicker. But this is actually a very strong stitch. It's a good one to you know, to get to learn or to get to know well. So there we go, up through there. Thread's buried, and now I'm up to my last bead. So I pick up one, down through that top one, and then finally back up through there. Now you can see they're not sitting beautifully. Notice that tail. It's always the last bead. I'll just come back up. There we go. Now you can see they're not sitting perfectly straight. So what I do at the end of the stitch is I'm just going to take my thread all the way down here and then all the way back so that I come out of here again. And you'll see as I do that, there it is, and just make sure you've gone through all the beads. Bring the thread down this way and then bring it up and make sure, there we are. And you'll see that now it's sitting nicely, and I can go on to my next row. So I, again, just like with the other stitch, turn it over so I can begin again. So just like I did before, thread on a bead, and this time down through this one, and just continue along in that exact same manner. Pop it in position and go up. Now each time you end a row, you always go back down through the previous and then back up again. It's a really firm, fabulous stitch, very strong if you need strength.